I spent 12K on mentorships and I still wasn't consistently profitable. And that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was that I didn't know what to do next. It's not like after $12,000 on mentorships, I just had to keep doing this thing and I would eventually get consistently profitable. I was stuck. If you have ever felt that way, if you spent a bunch of money on a mentorship and you didn't know what the next step was, mentorship over, you would have to pay another two or three or four or $5,000 to do another year of mentorship, and you're not going to do that because you didn't get the value out of the first one and you don't know what the next step is, this video is for you. Listen, I promised that when I figured out trading, that when I finally understood what it took to become consistently profitable, that I would make a mentorship so that other people never had to spend $12,000 on mentorships and not know what the next step is. So I have. That's what this channel is about. That's what the Edge Foundry is about. I want to show you exactly what it takes. Here's the problem though. Everybody is so focused on making $400 or $500 a day in day trading that they're missing out. They're missing the point of trading. They're missing what it takes to actually get consistently profitable. And they're missing the fact that the stock market simply doesn't work that way. You can make income in the stock market. It's just not every single day. And of course, that's my number one filter that I talk about. How to identify a scammer. If they tell you that you can make money every single day with $2,000, that's a scammer. That doesn't work. I learned that the hard way. I also came to the stock market thinking that I could make just a little bit of money every day. And I'll release another video, but I'll tell you how I actually got profitable on a day trading strategy. It was a high win rate strategy and it worked great. In fact, I capitalized on it super well and I made 300% in 1 month. And then the strategy stopped working the next month. And in 2 days, I lost $66,000. That's another story for another time. Right now, I want to make sure that you avoid the mistakes that I made. The number one mistake I made was thinking that I could come to the stock market with, say, $5,000 and make a consistent 10% every single day. The next thing I want you to know is that you don't have to be a day trader. It's in line with the you don't have to make money every day. You don't have to be a day trader. Now, they always talk about how it's emotionally hard to be a day trader and it's very emotionally difficult and your psychology and all this stuff. Listen, all that means is that you're not a day trader because day traders get energized from day trading. If you've ever seen a scalper that's really in the zone, I mean, they're just loving every second of it. They're all hyped up. They're really enjoying it. If you're emotionally finding it difficult to day trade, then you're not a day trader because historically, the statistics are that only 10 to 15% of successful traders are day traders. And statistically, 60% of retail traders that get online and start learning about trading go after day trading. That means 45% of you are not day traders. So there's another way. Let me give you another example. When I was learning to trade, there was a couple of guys that were doing really well. There's one guy, Tim Grittani, you might have heard of him. There's another guy, Roland Wolf, and they grew their accounts exponentially. They did really good. Guess how much they're making on their account now? They went from making 400%, 800% in like 6 or 8 months. They settled down, they dialed their strategy in, they still day trade, and they're looking to make between 20 and 35% on their account per year. That's where they ended up. So they got lucky. They know that. They're willing to admit it. They're willing to admit that they got lucky right out of the gate. They hit on a strategy that happened to be hot. There was a ton of momentum on it. They capitalized on it well. And after 6 or 8 months, instead of leaning into it, they took a step back and they thought, I wonder what's going on here. This is not normal. And so they started refining their strategy and figuring out what actually worked. And now they're looking for returns of between 20 and 35%. That's the reality of day trading. Swing traders, on the other hand, easily make 50 to 100% on their account per year because it's just easier. There's better signals. The psychology is not as much of a problem. Position traders also can make 60% on their account per year without breaking a sweat. It's not hard. Day trading, on the other hand, is not the easiest and it's not the most profitable way to trade. That's something I want you to know. That's something I want to share with you. And it's really important because everybody is stuck on day trading. And if you are a day trader, then great, you'll do well. And yes, there are day traders who make multiple hundreds of percent per year, but there's also swing traders who do that as well. It's about finding a strategy and a time frame that align with you. The next thing I want you to know is I wish I would have been able to figure out how to use spreadsheets early on. Now, I was lucky enough that the very first mentorship I was in, the mentor did make a few comments about tracking your trades in a spreadsheet. And he did kind of show a little bit about, but that wasn't the main point of the mentorship. The main point of the mentorship was to show you how he traded his strategy, which was fine, but of course it doesn't work for you. I'll explain more in a second about that. So, in that first year of trading, I did break out spreadsheets. I worked hard to get past whatever I had against spreadsheets, the boringness or the just, I don't want to track this. This really sucks. I worked hard to get past that. And then I got to another stage. I don't know what to track. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to develop edge by tracking my trades and reviewing them. I don't know how to do that. So that's something that I would like to share with you that would have been very, very important for me in my first years. If somebody would have been able to guide me on exactly how to track my trades and review them to go through a process to develop edge. Okay, so I said I would come back to talking about why learning someone else's strategy doesn't work for you. Listen, I've read Trading in the Zone 4 or 5 times now. I have a feeling that most people never stay to the end because Trading in the Zone is less about psychology and more about statistical edge. Because at the end, he sums it all up and says, listen, you can't learn someone else's strategy. You need to develop your own edge. Even if you use someone else's basic strategy, you still need to develop your personal edge on that strategy. That is the point of Trading in the Zone. That is how you deal with most psychological issues. And for the record, in case you're curious, Mark Douglas, who wrote Trading in the Zone, was primarily a day trader. So when he talks about how to solve psychology issues in day trading, he specifically says it's by developing a statistical edge on one strategy first. That is how you do it. So I wish I would have known that from day one. I wish I would have known that I can't follow someone else's strategy and learn what they're doing. I can't watch a screen, watch them day trade live and learn their edge from that. That's not possible. In fact, if you could look at someone else's trade, how they traded it, if you could look at their monthly P&L calendar or how they're doing overall as a trader and get consistently profitable from that, then everyone on X and Instagram and Reddit and YouTube would be profitable because it's nothing but screenshots of P&L and trades. And you know what? That doesn't work. I wish someone would have told me that from day one. That doesn't work. What does work is tracking your trades in spreadsheets, reviewing them regularly, seeing what worked and what didn't, and then incorporating that into your next 10 to 20 trades and continuing that process over and over and over again. First step, find a trading strategy that suits you. Find a time frame that makes sense to you that you trade well. Step one. Next step, back test that to get familiar with it. The next step is to forward test, as I mentioned. Track your trades, review them regularly, see what's working, see what's not, refine, and repeat that process. That is how you develop edge. So, in line with the promise that I made to myself, that I would offer a mentorship that taught people the exact process, step by step, break it down. This is what works. This is what I'm doing. This is why I offer the Edge Foundry. We're introducing a $50 a month mentorship. I know this is crazy. Nobody charges $50 a month for a mentorship. I'm going to offer a $50 a month mentorship that just offers the basics. We'll include the Discord chat room so you can ask me questions whenever you want, and I'll get back to you sometime later that day or the next day. And we're going to do one coaching call on a Saturday afternoon so that people can actually show up for it who work full time. We can talk about day trading. We can talk about swing trading. We can talk about futures. We can talk about options. We can talk about investing. We can talk about position trading. Whatever you want, I will share my advice with you and we'll talk about that simple four-step framework of finding a strategy that works for you, back testing it, forward testing it, and then reviewing it regularly to incorporate anything into your trading for the next 10 to 20 trades. We're going to talk about that because it doesn't matter if you're investing, it doesn't matter if you're day trading, it doesn't matter if you're scalping. This is the strategy that gets you to consistently profitable. And I want to make that ultra clear because one time I was the guy who spent $12,000 on mentorships and had absolutely nothing to show for it. And I don't want anyone else to be in that position.